Welcome to an updated version of the VRS packing video. Now, after training with the systems and packing them literally hundreds of times, we realized we had to come up with a better method. So I designed and created this VRS packing jig or template. And what it provides for is the ability to pack the systems much more uniformly and much more consistently. The end result of the overall package is you have a much more lower profile, much more streamlined system. Now, to give you a better example of that, the system on the left was packed using the jig. The system on the right was packed by hand. And you can see, just looking at the two, there's a notable difference. The system on the left is going to fit in the pants pocket of your gear a lot nicer, and it's going to deploy a lot easier and much more consistently. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to repack the system using the template. Now, this jig was customized to work in direct correlation with the custom storage bag that I also designed and created. So if you have your own VRS and you've purchased this bag, at the end of the video I'll show you how to make this template so you can pack your system just as nicely. The first thing you want to do before you start packing the system is check the distance of the flash hook in relation to the F4. So I'm going to fold the flash over without folding over the knot, so the knot is still in line with the spine of the flash. And then I want that distance from the top of the hook to the top of the F4 to be anywhere from 1 inch to no more than 2 inches. That's going to allow your system to pack just perfectly inside the bag and get the hook where you want it inside the hook pouch. If you look at the top of the jig, there's a schematic. There's an arrow that marks or basically tells you where to place the F4, and then arrows show you the direction and which way to route the rope. And then these two portions right here talk about how to place the bag on top when you're done. So what you're going to do is you're going to place the carabiner of the F4 right pretty much flush or near the 2x4. And then the rope that's going to the terminal end, you want it in the opposite direction. It's just going to feed around the template a lot easier. You see the arrow? Just following that schematic around the posts. You want it snug. It doesn't have to be banjo tight, but you want to pull on the rope to keep it taut as you're running around the posts or routing around the posts, but you want it so tight that you're not going to be able to slide the rope off at the end. So you continue to do that. Compress the rope down so it stays stacked on top of the bottom bend of the rope that you just routed around the posts. Just making figure eights, that's all you're doing. Then eventually you're going to start closing in on that terminal end, and if you remember in one of the previous VRS videos, we mark the last 6 feet of rope with a black indicator line. Because that section of the rope, that last 6 feet, gets stored into a separate pouch of the bag. But right when you start getting to that line, or look for it, there it is. That line is going to be placed in close proximity to that arrow on the bottom or on the top of the template. As I come around, you can kind of see where that black line ends up. This is where you want it. That's the bottom of this packing of the rope. That's basically the top of the bag. You'll see that in a second. This doesn't have to be spot on. It doesn't have to be perfect, but in close proximity to that. Okay? Then, also, on the schematic, you're going to see directions that are written on here on how to place the bag. Top of the bag is placed with the hook pockets on this side. So you find those hook pockets, that's the carabiner pocket. There's the hook pockets. You're going to open up the bag. Remember, this is your first 34 feet. If you look at where that hook pocket is, so these are the pouches for the hook pocket. That's that flap where the DCD rests on top. you want to open that section, open this mouth portion of the bag, and place that over the top of the template. Slide it down. Now I like to verify, you can kind of see if you open this up, this is going to be the pouch where that last terminal 6 feet of the terminal line of the rope goes. Bring the jig back up, or invert it I should say. You're going to get your fingers in between the 2x4 and the rope, and then you're going to start compressing the rope down off the posts as you start to slide the jig out. Continue to compress the rope down and get it so it's underneath or lower than the top edge of the bag. Now this is what I like to do. If you want to have the most compact system that you can make in your pocket, you're going to compress this rope all the way down to the very bottom edge, and you're going to start flattening it out. What you're looking for is the most streamlined, compact package that you can make, so you reduce that bulk or that feeling of bulkiness inside your pants pocket of your turnout gear. You can see as I start to do that how narrow I'm making that bag now. I'm really actually compressing it. It's flattening everything out. Those figure 8 bends now are starting to flatten out, and they cover the whole width of the bag. And see how thin that is? That's what you're looking for. Nice, thin, streamlined, compact package. At this point, you need to pack that last 6 feet. And if you remember in that previous video, what I'm looking for is I'm reversing the direction of the rope. So I'm just going to show you like this on the outside of the bag, because you're not going to be able to see it on the inside of the bag. This is what your last 6 feet is going to look like. I'm going all the way to that bottom edge. Okay, black line starts on top. I go all the way to the bottom edge, and then I stop shy about an inch with that top bend. I go to the bottom of the bag, stop with an inch of the top. Like so. And you continue like this until you get to that terminal carabiner, which will be positioned like this. Okay? So I'm going to repack that and then show you what it looks like. Okay. Now I have most of that last 6 feet packed in that outside pouch. There's that black indicator line going in to the top, and then you see the bends of the rope. They're roughly anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch from the top of the bag opening. And that brings me to the carabiner. Now before I put it in that outside pouch, I want to come to the gate, open it all the way up. Remember there's that storage pin. I want to put back pressure on that twist lock against that storage pin, which helps prevent the twist lock from closing. And this is going to be a tight fit. It's designed that way. You gotta kind of work that gate in there, and then I'm gonna stuff this last section of rope inside the bag. But I want a slight bend coming off the top, but I want that bend going to the back side of the bag, or the same side that that gate is. This is gonna keep it away from where the hook's gonna be, but it still allows me to reach for this auxiliary carabiner and deploy it when I need to. At this point, I'm gonna place the hook. Now what I found easiest is you're going to take the rope that's going to the F4, route it to the back side of the flash, because that's how it's going to be sitting, okay? And then you can go in 2 ways. You can take that tail and go this way, or you can fold it back on that same side. What you're trying to do is you're not folding the knot over. Notice how the knot is still in line with the spine. And we preload these to kind of lock that knot in place. But I'm trying to reduce the profile of this bulk. The bulk of that knot, because it's going inside this pouch, which is a little snug. Open that up as best you can. Slide it in, and before you get it all the way down to the bottom, capture the point now, in that secondary pouch, and then compress it down as far as you can get it. Okay? Now you want to finish with this last rope and place in the F4. Remember, there's that flap on top. This flap is what separates the F4, the hardware, from the software. Prevents your F4 from getting snagged on the rope, and it also reduces the chafing of the hardware on the rope as it's sitting in your pocket. So I want to get as much rope underneath that top flap as possible. The reason I put this rope on the back side of the F4 is I need to take that portion, bear with me here, so that rope going to the top of the F4 is going to go on top of that flap, okay, and then everything else is going to go underneath. So this is the part you got to kind of spend a little bit of extra time with. I'm just going to try to get it situated here. Alright, so I don't know how well you can see this. So pretty much all the rope is now underneath that top flap, except for that portion coming off the flash to the top of the F4. You have two options for storage and setup and deployment. Remember, I mentioned in the previous videos, you have the integrated system that's pre-attached to your belt or harness, or the independent setup. The reason we store it this way is it allows you to pre-attach your system. I'm checking that system carabiner, that CMC manual lock. I want to make sure that's in a fully open position. And when it sits in your pocket, the hook is toward your body, toward the front of your gear, or the front of your pants, hook closest to your body. This puts that DCD or F4 carabiner close where you can attach that lanyard, okay? That's how we want it. If you are going with the independent setup, you can simply just rotate this carabiner and then tuck it in to either that outside pouch or inside one, whatever you prefer. I have it on the outside, that last terminal end of the rope, okay? And that's what that looks like. So it's on the outside pocket, the gate's still open. Confirm that that rope coming to the terminal end carabiner has that bend going away from the flash. So when you reach in your pocket, if you kind of look at that downward view, this is the first thing that you're going to grab, and everything else is pushed down so you can't reach it. If you grab the F4 and the system carabiner at the same time, no big deal, but you want to be able to get easy access to that flash. And that's your system. And again, once you got everything packed, again, you can compress it down as you put it in your pocket. But you can see how low profile of a overall package that you have by using that template. Okay, to make the template, you're going to need a section of 2x4, 10 inches long, and then two posts or dowels that are also each 10 inches long. Now I simply just cut off a section of broom handle that was 7/8 in diameter. However, the most important measurement to this whole template is where you locate these posts. And what you're looking for from outside edge to outside edge, top and bottom, is a measurement of 7 3/4 inches wide. That's very important. Again, the jig works in direct correlation with that custom storage bag. So if you want your rope to fit perfectly inside this bag, this dimension or measurement has to be spot on. Now I used a spade bit and a drill press, and I would suggest you do the same thing. Don't try to drill these holes by hand. I don't care how good you are, there's just too great of a chance for you to be on a slight angle. And if these posts go on an angle, left or right, front or back, it's going to affect how your rope gets packed and stored inside your bag. You want, literally, you want that post to be at right angles, straight up and down, front and back, both directions. And you're only going to get that if you use a drill press. Beyond that, my other suggestion is before you drive the post into the 2x4 is you chamfer that bottom edge, just round it over. It's going to be a tight fit. Remember the post 7/8, the spade bit of the hole 7/8, to get it to actually start, chamfering that edge is going to make your life a lot easier. And then just simply drive the posts in using a rubber mallet. I didn't use any glue. This is what the bottom looks like, okay? Very tight fit, and you're not going to be able to see it here, but this little edge is where I chamfered it over before I started driving it into the 2x4. You can use glue if you wanted to. I didn't. This jig has hundreds of packs on it, and it's been holding up just fine. These are still fitting super tight. The last thing, as I mentioned in the packing portion of the video, is just configuring or writing a schematic, drawing a schematic on the top of the 2x4, so you know where to start the rope, how the rope is routed around the posts, and then where you place the bag, and that's it. You literally can make this template in less than 10 minutes. And I gotta tell you, without patting myself on the back, it's like gold. It makes your world a lot easier, especially if you have to pack a lot of systems, or even if you're training with your own system on a regular basis, it's gonna make your world a hell of a lot easier. That's it. Hope it works for you. Thanks for watching.